So I'm going to talk now about DBT interpersonal skills, and particularly as they relate to Gottman couples therapy. And I've kind of rewritten some of the materials to represent the overlap, which I think is really substantial between the Gottman couples work and the DBT work. Sometimes I call DBT industrial strength Gottman, and it sort of adds in about the emotion regulation piece, and it's sort of some very step-by-step maneuvers in how to communicate skillfully that play a role in, particularly in what Gottman calls making a soft startup. His data indicates that how things go in the first 30 seconds of a discussion predict how well it's going to come out by the end. And so I'm going to be talking about soft startup from a DBT point of view. Now, to my taste, there are really 3.5, maybe 4 really very, very brilliant ideas in Marshall Linehan's DBT interpersonal skills. The first of these is to consider that in any given interaction with someone else, there's basically 3 things that we're after. One of them is getting what we want, sort of the content of that particular interaction. The second is ideally, but not always, ideally while we're getting what we want them to like us after they've given us what we want. It's sort of the relationship harmony, how it feels to be in a relationship together. And then finally, we want to have our self-respect be intact on the other side of getting what we want and keeping the relationship harmonious. If it feels like we're giving away too much of our own important personal values to either get that we're after or have the thing kind of feel cozy, then it's not going to feel good to us. So so basically in this we have 3 overlapping Venn diagrams, unlike the mindfulness thing. So let's call getting what we want up here, getting what we want. Then there's interpersonal harmony, sort of the relationship harmony. And self-respect. Now, as I said, on a good day, we could really get all 3 of them. But sometimes we really do have to prioritize one over the other. So, if we're about to get in a car wreck, we might not say, "Look out!" in just the very sweetest way. So then we have to repair, say, "Sorry, honey, but I thought we were going to hit that car." If you're in a concentration camp, you might sacrifice your self-respect's values in order just to survive and kind of do whatever that takes. But some concentration camp survivors actually managed to stand by their values, although many of them also died in order to preserve their sense of self-respect. So we're making trade-offs among these 3. So that's one idea which I think is really very useful. The second idea, and you may know that DBT just loves acronyms. So basically there's a set of guidelines with an acronym for how to get and how to achieve each of these particular goals. I'm going to write that, we're getting what you want, even though you're not going to be able to read that on the videotape. So, in terms of queuing up what you want in lines with kind of a soft startup in Gottman terms, DBT gives the acronym Dear Man. And so I'm going to sort of write that in here and then kind of write in what the various things are. Now, this particular one, the DEAR, I rewrote in order to bring it right into line with Gottman. So I'm going to just kind of define these in somewhat Gottmanian terms, or at least the first one. So with the describe, what I wrote down is start the conversation softly by an objective and neutrally phrased description of the circumstances you want to discuss. Avoid inflammatory language. So the idea here is to get the thing on the table without pissing the other person off right at the get-go, remembering that how you get it started predicts how it's going to come out at the other end. So let's say that the hypothetical example I'm going to work with here is, say I've got a roommate and I'm trying to get my roommate to do the dishes. We've had an agreement that every other night it's each of our turn to do the dishes, but I see that my roommate has not done his dishes. It's already 10 o'clock at night, and I'm suspicious because there's been kind of a pattern that he just doesn't get his dishes done very regularly. So for the describe thing, I really might want to say, you know, Fred, it's 10 o'clock, and I just walked out in the kitchen, and I've noticed that the dishes haven't gotten done yet. So that's me trying to put it up there really neutral. Just the facts now. Then I want to express how I feel about it. Let me just read what I wrote. I said, name your feelings about the situation, starting with, I'm feeling. So notice, I might even quibble with the fact that the acronym calls for expressing them. I want to name them. Again, going for a soft startup, I want to be pretty gentle about how I bring that up. And so if I'm irritated, I want to avoid kind of expressing that with the voice tone. I might want to name it more. Let me just read it again. So name your feelings about the situation, starting with I'm feeling. Then I say, beginning with more primary feelings like worry and sadness will provoke less defensiveness than secondary feelings like anger. Now, I've got a video up on the website about an emotion diagram that talks about how one emotion easily turns into another. I have the sense that anger usually is perhaps very briefly preceded by fear. But I certainly know that speaking about fear will provoke quite a different response from someone than expressing anger. So if I say to Fred about the dishes, you know, Fred, we've got an ant problem, and I'm really worried that if we leave the dishes out overnight, that the ants are going to come in again. So you know, I'm a little nervous about bringing this up because I know we've talked about this before, but I'm worried enough that I'm bringing up the issue about the dishes. And then we move on to the A here. So we've got describe. If I could spell, that'd be good. Describe, express. Now we're to assert. So here's what I wrote. Ask, and you could actually just as easily say A is for ask. Ask clearly for what you want, or say no to what you don't want. The language of your assertion may reflect the intensity from 0 to 6 on a scale, and I'm going to talk about that you are feeling. So this kind of links out to another really cool idea. I think all of this is going to get on here. So we've got a 0 to 6 scale about assertiveness. So if we're asking for stuff on the 0 to 6 scale, at 0 we wouldn't even ask. We don't even bring it up, okay? At 6, it's not that we're going to be nasty about it, but that we're going to keep asking. We're really not going to take no for an answer in as skillful a way as we can, using all the rest of the skills. We're going to want to keep coming back to the issue, sort of like a broken record, over and over and over again, until we've gotten our way. So in between 0 and 6, there's all these other numbers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So at 0, you don't even bring it up. At 1, you hint, like really indirectly. At 2, you can just hint more openly. At 3, you can ask super tentatively. So if I'm back on my dishwashing thing, at 3, I say, you know, you think it might be possible, Fred, to work on those dishes sometime tonight? Okay, that's like super tentatively. And if I'm at 3, I'm going to give right up if he doesn't respond. At 4, I'm going to ask more firmly. I'm going to say, hey Fred, really would like to ask you to do the dishes. At 4, I'm just going to, if he says no, I say okay. If I'm at 5, if this really is concerned enough about it, I will kind of hang in and try to talk him into it. I will do what they call resisting a no at 5. And at 6, I'm going to just stay with it. I'm really not going to stop talking about it until we get the dishes, an agreement to get the dishes done right away. Okay, and then, so that's assert, and then the R is really, really crucial in this. This R is for reinforce. And so reading from what I wrote, let the person know what's in it for them to give you what you want. What positive consequences will come about from cooperating with you. You want to make sure to reward him or her afterwards with those reinforcing results. So, about our dishwashing thing, I might say, so Fred, got to tell you, if you can get these done, I'm going to be such a better roommate tonight. We could we could play a board game or watch a movie or something, and I'll let you pick. But just want you to know that I'm going to be a lot more fun, and then we won't have to worry about this. Plus, we won't have any ants tonight, which you know you don't like ants any more than I do. So I've really tried to offer him what could be in it for him to grant my request. Okay, so that's the DEAR. Now. MAN. M is for mindful. This is about, there's a lot of aspects of DBT mindfulness in various contexts, but here what we're really doing is we're sort of keeping our eye on the prize of what we're after. So if what I'm really after is the dishes, I just kind of keep coming back to that. I don't let myself get distracted by whatever defensiveness might happen or whatever else comes up. I'm going to ignore any kind of attacks or threats or attempts to change the subject or any of that. I just keep coming back, sort of like a broken record that skips back to the beginning all over again. Okay, so that's mindfully. A is for appearing confident, mindfully. Multitasking here. Appearing confident. You know, notice I'm sort of acting like any reasonable person is going to give me what I want. And so I'm just going to kind of be talking in a way that, come on, Fred, you are going to want to do this, I know that. And that's going to work much better than if I'm kind of staring at the floor and stammering and so on. Okay, so that's appearing confident. N is for being willing to negotiate. So, this actually takes place after I've listened to his response. And actually in the real world, a lot of times what we actually end up doing is not so much a dear man give fast. Oh, I haven't told you the other acronyms yet, but they're give and fast. But a lot of times we actually we do the DEAR, so we do a dear and then give, as we listen to the person's point of view about the topic we're bringing up here. So I'm going to come back and finish up the rest of this after I go see a client here.